Good morning and welcome to today's webinar on social work. My name is Felicity. I'm an Access Project Officer here at Flinders University in the Education Pathways team. And with me today, I've got Kylie, who's one of our current students. And together we're going to have a bit of a chat about the study area of social work today. So it's going to be around about 30 minutes for the presentation, including some Q&A time with Kylie. So please just make sure you've got your cameras and mics turned off, so it will minimise any of the background noise that we have today. Please feel free to ask us questions via that chat function, but we probably won't get to them until the end of the presentation. But if anything pops up in your mind and you want to type it down, go for it, and we'll answer it at the end. And if anything comes up at the end, by all means, we've got time to discuss it. So the information we're going to talk about today is intended for domestic applicants. So if you are an international student, the information today will be informative and interesting, but the application processes might be a little bit different. So if you've got questions relating that kind of stuff, you're best to contact our International Students Office. So jump on the website and you'll be able to grab their contact details there. If you're having trouble hearing us today, click on audio and call using computer, or you can head to the WebEx website for troubleshooting. Unfortunately, there's not much we can do about it from this end, but we'll do our best to get the information across to you today. All right, so let's get started. So today's webinar, we're going to cover what is social work, why study social work here at Flinders, what will I study, some of the course features, we'll hear from a current student, and then we'll talk about entry requirements and how to apply. So let's start off talking about what is social work. We put in some of these kinds of definitions just to break it down a little bit, because social work is a very broad study area and leads to a very broad range of careers and occupations. So social workers promote social change, problem solving in human relationships, and the empowerment and liberation of people to enhance well-being. Social work meets people where they're at, and it supports them to navigate social issues, and human rights and social justice are fundamental to the field of social work. What can social work look like? It can be delivered in many forms. It could be in the area of individual support, family support, community engagement and development, group work, creating programs and managing support programs. It can be around policy analysis, innovation and change, and it can also incorporate advocacy and activism. And social work, like one particular job, can touch on many of these things. One particular job can focus in on one of these things. It's, like I said, it is really broad, and there's lots of different ways that it is presented within itself. What about social work careers? Well, where are the jobs? So the field of social work is a large occupation employing over 32,000 people. Growth in this area is considered strong. Unemployment was below average in 2018, and social workers work in many regions of Australia. The most common industries for social work is in healthcare and social assistance, public administration and safety, and education and training. Earnings are looking pretty good, so full-time workers on an adult wage can earn around $1,800 per week, which is very high compared to the average of $1,460 per week. Earnings tend to be lower when starting out and higher as experience grows. So you might start out, as a graduate entry-level type job, and you might work up, as you gain more experience throughout the industry. Many work full-time at 64%, similar to the average of 66%. So where are they? Well, potential employers include government at all levels, so federal, state and local government, as well as many non-government or non-profit organisations, often referred to as NGOs. And the other important thing to consider is that social workers are not always called social workers. A lot of the time they are. You'll see job ads saying, a social worker, this, that or whatever. But other titles will include things like community support officers, counsellors, mental health clinician, support worker, child welfare assessor, project officer, support coordinator, inclusion and equity advisor, aged care liaison. And these are just some examples from a search engine. So that's, if you type in, social work, lots of other titles will come up. Lots of the government-based roles will be entitled as social workers. But yeah, you can see it pops up in lots of different ways as well. So it's good to have a bit of an open mind about that. And so why study social work here at Flinders University? Well, you can see we've got, quite a few accolades to our name for our program. We're number one in South Australia for overall experience in social work. We're number one in South Australia for full-time employment in social work, and number one in South Australia for student support in social work, which is excellent. That's great, great accolades for us. So you can see that a Flinders degree qualifies you to work as a social worker in a wide range of social welfare services, like we saw on the previous slide. And it also provides eligibility for AASW membership. Now, this is important because many of the jobs will require eligibility for AASW membership, and that's the Australian Association of Social Workers. So this degree will qualify you for that. You will undertake intensive work placements that help integrate social work theory into your practice, and you'll gain a strong foundation in a range of disciplines, including human rights and social development. Indigenous knowledge and issues are integrated into the Bachelor of Social Work with options for Indigenous focused topics. And also be prepared with practical training in our purpose-built on-campus social work simulation and skills lab, which we'll hear a bit more about later from Kylie. So what will you study? What does a social work degree look like? Well, a social work degree is 4 years. So it's a little bit longer than the average of 3 years, but as a full-time student, it'll take 4 years to complete. And you begin with building a strong foundation, drawing from areas such as politics, sociology, Indigenous studies, and mental health. And you build a really good, solid understanding of how the world works on a micro level, on a macro level from the very beginning. And then upon that, you start building further knowledge and you start drawing on social work topics, including community development, critical and reflective thinking, social policy, ethical issues and human rights, and also build on knowledge gained in previous years. So it just kind of keeps forming year after year. In your final 2 years, you then complete your placements. And these are pretty big topics within those final 2 years. So you have 2 separate placements, 2 different work placements, and they're each worth 500 hours. And you do them in 2 completely different work settings. Isn't that right, Kylie? Yeah. So if you do one with children and young people, then you won't repeat that placement again, will you? You'll be encouraged to do something possibly on the other end of the spectrum, perhaps, maybe in aged care or something different.
Yeah, maybe like, I don't know, working with families or something like that.
Yeah. Great. And the other thing with Flinders is that we find the field placement for you. So you're not expected to go out door knocking on different, organisations and department doors. We actually work with you to help you find what's going to suit you. So you give a bit of a general idea of what you'd like to do. Like you put in some preferences, perhaps.
Yeah, we fill out a questionnaire and then they sort out the rest for us.
Makes it a lot easier, doesn't it? And above all, the placements are great learning opportunities because you get to integrate the knowledge that you've learned in those previous years with your experiences from your placement. So when you're in your placement, you might be like, oh, I can do that thing that I've learned about. Oh yeah, I remember learning about this last year or whatever. Like it really starts to click, I guess, is a really good way to put it. It really just goes, oh, that's what we were doing or that's what we were talking about. And now I can use it in a practical sense, which is fantastic. So it might seem a bit daunting to do such big placements, but it's actually so essential to developing as a social worker and, really become job ready for the end of it. Okay. So let's hear from Kylie now. We'll just do a bit of Q&A and find out, what it's like for you at the moment. So maybe we'll start with why did you choose social work, and particularly why did you choose it at Flinders?
Yeah, so I was already studying at Flinders, so I was studying a Bachelor of Medical Science, and then I just really wanted to help people, and I didn't know what that would look like unless I went into medicine, and that might take a while. So I chose to transfer into social work where I could help people in a more direct way and, pretty much in lots of different age groups or places. So it just looked like a really good degree. Yeah.
So you had the motivation to help people. Yeah. And I guess it sounds a little bit like, and I don't want to be putting words into your mouth, but it sounds a little bit like you weren't exactly sure who or what you were wanting to work in, but you've got 4 years to kind of explore that with the different topics that you do and the different experiences you have to then go, I really liked working with families, or I really liked working with young kids, or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's a really good way to give yourself a bit of time and space to think about, okay, well, I'm going to have this really valuable qualification, and I'm not quite, I know I want to help people, but I'm not quite sure who. Let's give this a go. Yeah. Okay. And so how did you get in? So you did an internal transfer from medical science. And internal transfers are things that that you can do. So if you get into a course here at Flinders and you're not quite enjoying it, it's not what you expected, or you've had a complete change of, oh, hang on, I don't want to do this, I want to do that. Once you're in at uni, you can apply for a different course. And these are things that you don't necessarily know about until you're here, but it's a very easy process. You just do it on your student system online. You go, yep, I'll select that course and go into it. I did that too. I did first year international studies, and during then I thought, I don't think I want to do this anymore. I want to do social work. So I did an internal transfer into social work as well. I think lots of people get a bit of a feeling about, what they really want to do once they're here.
We can start off in like a basic degree, like a Bachelor of Arts, and then if you realise that, you want to change, you can get into social work later on by building up your GPA and stuff like that.
Yeah, and maybe doing some common topics so you can take some credit with you, which is really good. Okay, cool. So what's the course like? How are you finding it?
The course is good. I think I really love how all of our tutors and lecturers are people from the field. Some of them are researchers, so they have background in researching different topics. Others are from the field, so they get them in to talk to us about a certain
like topic. A guest lecturer, perhaps? They'll get a guest lecturer in who specialises in particular things and stuff like that.
Our lecturers are people who are previously from the field that wanted to change, and they decided to come and teach students to help them to work out if they want to be social workers and what that looks like.
And I know that the people who are teaching the topics, they're active in their fields. They are, they've got that experience to draw on, but they've also got the current experience of what they're doing, or the research areas, and they're on top. They don't just kind of check out and go, okay, I'm going to teach now. It's not like that. They have to stay on top of what's going on, contemporary issues, all that kind of stuff. So it's really good. So what kind of stuff do you study? Well, tell us what year you're in.
I'm in like second and third year, so I'm doing a mixture of topics. One of the topics that I really loved that I did last year was a topic that we went into the simulation labs, and we got to simulate what it would actually be like working with an individual client. So at the end of the semester, we had like mock interviews where actors came in as clients, and we had to start off a meeting with them to get to know them and why they were there. So that was a really challenging but rewarding experience to be what's it actually like working with an individual, getting to know them, or if they start crying, how do I deal with that, or if they're really shy and don't want to talk to us, what's it like?
It's a really clever way of doing it as well. So like you mentioned, they'll hire actors to come in and play a certain role, and rather than plonking you in the middle of some kind of organisation, say, okay, work with these people. This is a way to get a bit of a taster to see this is how you approach people, this is how you talk about issues in a safe environment. So in the simulation lab, tell us a bit about what the simulation lab's like.
The simulation lab is it's got a really big room where we can do lecture style things all together. And then it has lots of breakout rooms that are set up for one-on-one or group counselling sort of sessions. And they all have cameras, so we can record what we're doing and then look back at it and be I say all the time, or I use my hands too much and stuff like that. So it's a learning curve.
It can be hard to look back on those things, but at the same time, it's really good learning experience to go, okay, and I didn't think that went well, but that actually looked okay,
looked like I was actually engaged with the person and listening and compassionate to them. Whereas in the time we're just so nervous that we're oh my gosh, what are we doing?
You lose the experience when you're kind of in it, but being able to reflect on it, and that's a really important part of social work is reflection, self-reflection, and that kind of thing. So having the simulation lab really kind of aids that, doesn't it? Okay, cool. And you haven't started your placements yet because you're kind of in between second and third year. But when you do start, have you indicated what you'd like to do? What's your first kind of one you want to do?
Not yet, but I like to at least have one of my placements in youth or young adult areas. But I don't really mind the industry. just like that's the sort of age that I would want to work with at the moment, but I'm pretty open with anything.
Yeah.
Because, yeah.
Cool. Okay. And what about when you graduate? Is there anything that you've kind of thought about you'd like to do? I mean, I know you mentioned you want to work with youth or whatever, but
I'm not really sure just yet. Like, there's just like a lot of options. Like, I could go into policy and like work on changing like the broader thing, or work with individuals. Like, yeah, I'm not really sure right now.
yeah, you've still got plenty of time to figure it out. And you'll do your placements and you might go, oh, I really like this, or, oh, I'm not sure if I like that. Because that's another really good opportunity, is to find out what you like versus what you don't like.
Yeah.
Because everyone says, oh, you know, figure out what you like and what you're good at and where your strengths are. But it's sometimes just as important to find out, oh, I don't like that. And because when it comes to, you know, real life and you're out in the field and then you're only just starting to figure that out, it can be a lot harder. You use your experience as a student to explore that stuff too.
Yeah.
To really, I think that's a really important thing to consider. And what do you think is the best thing about the course?
I think from people's experience around me, they're like, placement's the best part. You get hands-on experience and you get to find out what you like and don't like about a specific age group or area. So yeah, that's probably the best part of the course. But also the people that you're there with is like a supportive environment. Like, social work's a course that has people from all ages and all walks of life, so it's really cool just talking to people in the course who have different experiences and then want to go and help people in a certain way.
It is, you're right, it is a very diverse student group. And do you know what's so good about that though, is that when you are in your workshops and your tutorials and things like that, you learn from everyone. You learn from each other. Exactly. People who do have, you know, years of experience versus people who might be coming into it with real fresh eyes and different contemporary kind of perspectives. And it's just the way that you kind of come together and learn from each other, I think is, you know, really great.
I think it's a really helpful learning environment.
Yeah. And do you have any advice for people who are thinking about doing social work?
I would say that if you're interested in any way, just give it a go. If you don't like it or if you love it, then it's okay to change your mind on where you want to go afterwards. Like when you're in uni, you can just change your mind and be like, social work's not for me, I'll try and go down another path and see where it leads. Or I love social work, not sure what industry I want to go into, so I'll try and do placement and see where it goes. Yeah,
for sure. And I might chime in on my advice thing as a previous graduate. And we were talking a little bit about this before we started, but it's the idea of the people you meet in the course. And you don't have to be friends with every single person in the course, but try and make some connections, because when you go through things like placement and some of the topics that have got, you know, some heavy content, it's so important to have a few people that you can bounce off and debrief with, isn't it? Because you sort of figure out that once you're in there, you're like, wow, this is a unique experience, and to have some people who understand what you're going through as a student is so important. Because as great as friends and family are, it's good to have just a couple people who you can say, man, I'm doing this, and they're like, yeah, me too. You know, I know how you feel, that kind of stuff. Like I was just saying, I had a group of about 3 friends who I still see today, who we had each other's back throughout the final 2 years in terms of that. So you know, just make a few connections if you can and hang in there and have a bit of get a taste for it, you know, see if you like it. Like Kylie said, if you're not quite sure, no harm giving it a go, and no harm if you change your mind. But get some advice before you go changing topics, because you might be able to get credit here and there, you know. That's a sensible way of doing it, of course. Okay, so if you really want to get in, learn about social work, we're going to talk about the entry requirements in a second. So as you can imagine, this year has been really different in every aspect of life. University is no different. So we had to transition all our learning to the online space in 2020. So at the beginning of semester 1, when government restrictions kind of told us, right, you need to change the way we do things, we moved all of our learning online. So we use our online learning platform, which is called Flow, Flinders Learning Online, which we've always used, but we just ramped it up for online learning. So all the lectures were made available online, so you can watch in your own time at your own pace. which is so valuable because you can pause, you can rewind, you can say, oh, hang on, I didn't get that, or oh, we need to go to the loo. You know, you've just got, it's a bit easier than, you know, being in a lecture theatre sometimes. So it was comfortable. We use a thing called Collaborate, which is a way that you can still connect with your classmates and your lecturer. We haven't got any word on semester 2 yet, but we're hoping to be able to bring everything back to face-to-face online learning. Doesn't make sense. Face-to-face learning for semester 2. So watch this space and we'll have more information about that. I'm sure as things start changing, you know, we've already noticed huge changes over the last month or so. So yeah, all right, here we go. So if you want to apply for social work, these are the details that you need. It's a duration of 4 years full-time, which I mentioned before. If you need to do it part-time, it will take a bit longer. Just, you know, it kind of spaces out a bit more. And Kylie, you flipped over to part-time for a bit, didn't you? Like, it's just sometimes you might need, you know, to take it down a bit, but then you can flick back over to full-time. It's flexible like that. So the 2020 ATAR is 70, and if you have an ATAR above 80, then that's guaranteed entry, meaning you don't even have to wait to find out. You know you'll get in. TAFE link is a diploma or above. So what that means is that if you have a certain qualification from TAFE or another registered training organisation, that will ensure your entry into the course. So for this course, you need to have a diploma. So if you have a diploma in anything, it doesn't need to be community services or youth work or anything like that. It just needs to be a diploma that will then be enough for you to have entry into this course. So for more information on the course, including study plans and timetables, go to that website, flinders.edu.au. It might be easier to just type in social work in the search bar or by the study area as a drop down. The study plan is really interesting because or the program of study, we publish that online and it's got every single topic at every single year level that you need to do. So it's not a secret. You can find out straight away, what would I do in first year? What would I do in second year, third year and fourth year? What does that timetable look like? You can even get the timetable details and get a bit of an idea of, okay, well, if I was to do it, I'd be there on this day and that day. So for example, when I was studying, I attended uni 2 days a week because that's how my timetable fell. And I picked the workshops to be on the days that I was going to be there and got it all done in 2 days, except for placements. Do you have a similar kind of timetable? Like you've kind of worked it to suit?
Yeah, like with lectures and shoots, I was on 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. And that's in normal times, not online learning times, but
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so you can really try and make it work for you.
Yeah, or you can like have some half days here and there.
Yeah.
So it's not ever like full days.
Yeah. Schedule in time to study on campus if that's how you study best. I know if I left myself a big gap here, I would use it properly. Right? Yeah, exactly. Rather than think, I'll go home and study and
go home and study.
But yeah, so you can really work it, you know, in your own way. So how do you apply? So you visit satac.edu.au and then you choose either undergraduate or postgraduate. Today we were talking about undergraduate social work, but it's important to note that social work is also a postgraduate master's degree. So you can do 4 years undergraduate, or if you've already got a degree, you can do it in 2 years as a postgrad student. You would click on apply for courses and this blue button here that says domestic applicants, that's the one you do. You'll then be prompted to register and create a profile. So once you've done that, you get to choose 6 preferences. So if you really want to study social work here at Flinders, you'd be putting that as number 1. But then it's a really good idea to maybe have some backup options. So for example, a pathway course would be a Bachelor of Arts. So you'll do social work as your first preference and perhaps looking at a pathway course of Bachelor of Arts as a lower preference. And if you weren't able to get into social work on the first instance, but you get into arts, you would then structure your first year to be as similar as possible to social work. When you build up the GPA, that's your grade, build up a grade to be able to then transfer across, do that internal transfer, and take as much credit as you can with you. Now, this can be a little bit tricky. This is when you talk to a student advisor about doing these kinds of things. We'll help you out. We'll tell you, okay, this is how you do it, and these are the topics that you might consider doing, which will fall in line with the Bachelor of Social Work. So some of the key dates that you might need to know about. So applications for mid-year studies, so starting in late July. They're open now and they'll be closing on the, I've got the wrong date here, sorry. They'll be closing on the 29th of June. Disregard that 1st of June, it's the 29th. Semester 2 will start at the end of July and then goes through until November when break starts on the 23rd of November. And the cost for a Year 12 student from 2019 is $45, but all other applicants, it's $85 for an application here. If you're looking at studying in 2021, we have slightly different dates. So applications for 2021 will open in August. Just watch our website or the SATEC website for that exact date. And then you have up until the 30th of September to make your application. That's kind of like the fee deadline. If you can still submit an application after the 30th of September, but you will incur a late fee. Now, if you cast your eyes to the bottom of the screen here, you can see that that late fee is quite substantial. It goes from $85 up to $225. So if you think you know that you want to study next year, pop an application in before that date. You've still got until December to change those preferences around. So if you think, oh, I think I want to do social work, I'm just going to put it in, and then you change your mind, between then and December, just log back into your account, change your preferences, okay? Pretty simple. We have offer rounds throughout December, through January and February, and then 2021 study commences either late February or early March, somewhere along those lines. And so we will invite you to learn more about studying at Flinders if you want to know more about our different study areas. We're doing these webinars on all different study areas. So as you can see on the 16th, we've got our study area on languages and culture. If you're interested in psychology as well, like if you're thinking, oh, I like social work, I like psychology, we do have a webinar next week on psychology, next Tuesday. So have a look at our website. Always register for the webinars so you get the link like you did today. And you can see there's other skill development and career development webinars that we're holding, and some practical webinars about how to apply, what's the STAT, the Special Tertiary Admissions Test. We've got all different webinars about all different areas. If you've got the time, we would love it if you could submit some feedback for today's webinar. There's the link there, but I'll pop it in the chat as well afterwards so you can get the link. It'll just help us develop these webinars and make them, relevant for what people at home need to hear and want to hear about. But to finish off, I'd like to say you can contact us at any time. If you need to talk about your application or your options, just phone that number and click option 1, because that's for prospective students. If you think that you want a bit of time to talk to someone about, options, you think, oh, this is going to be a conversation, it's going to take a little while, you can book a one-on-one appointment and speak to a prospective student advisor. You can even make an on-campus one now if you'd like to meet with someone face-to-face. Just give us a call and we can sort that out for you. And if you'd rather just do a bit of online chat, we do have a chat function on our website now. So if you go to our website, you'll see the little bubble down the bottom and it says chat now. You can jump on that and chat with us. And if you just want to send a quick email, go for it. There's our details. But yeah, we're always on the other end of the phone, ready and able to take your calls and answer all your questions and all that kind of stuff. So on that note, I'd just like to thank you for joining us. Thanks for listening and hearing about the wonderful world of social work. Just to cap it off, I think, and a really important note about social work is that it's such a broad qualification and it can lead to so many different jobs and careers. And I've always referred to it as a bit of a passport. Yeah. Having a degree in social work is like having a job passport. It'll take you anywhere you want. And I want to thank Kylie for joining us. Thank you so much for sharing your story, and best of luck for the rest of the year. Yes, see what semester 2 holds, I suppose. Yeah. All right. So thanks for joining us. Hang around, ask some questions if you'd like, and hope to see you on campus soon.